Commander Park Jinwoo pressed his palm against the cold viewport of the Galactic Console Station, watching another massive alien freighter glide past like a mechanical wheel. The ship's hull gleamed with strange symbols that hurt his eyes too. Look at directly. After 5 decades in space, humans still felt like newcomers at this cosmic gathering. Look at them, Lieutenant Kim Sora whispered, nodding toward a cluster of insectoid creatures near the station's central hub. Their 6 legs clicked against the metal flooring as they gestured with sharp, angular arms. The Vorthic delegation. They're talking about us again. Jinwoo didn't need to enhance his hearing to catch the mocking tones in their alien chittering. The same conversation happened every day. Humans were soft. Humans were weak. Humans talked too much and fought too little. Commander Park, a booming voice echoed across the observation deck. Ambassador Vecma approached with his usual swagger. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. Behind him trailed his aide, a nervous creature that looked like a walking stick insect made of chrome. Ambassador, Jinwoo replied with a polite nod. Years of diplomatic training kept his voice level, professional. I was just telling the Corbin Trade Minister about your species' fascinating approach to conflict resolution, Vecma said, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the recycled air. So refreshingly gentle, Sora's hand moved almost imperceptibly toward her sidearm. Jinwoo caught the motion and gave her the slightest shake of his head. We believe in finding peaceful solutions. Jinwoo said simply. Of course you do, Vecma's laugh sounded like grinding metal. Tell me, Commander, what happens when peaceful solutions don't work? When diplomacy fails? When someone simply refuses to listen to your pretty words? The question hung in the air like a poisonous cloud round them. Other alien species had stopped their conversations to listen. A massive bear-like creature with too many eyes leaned closer. A floating jellyfish being pulsed with what might have been amusement. That rarely happens, Jinwoo replied, though his fingers had unconsciously curled into fists. Rarely. Vecma stepped closer, his breath smelling of sulfur and rotting meat. But what if it did? What if someone decided your research stations made excellent target practice? What if someone thought human civilians would make interesting test subjects? The temperature in the observation deck seemed to drop whole degrees. Sora had gone completely still, her dark eyes fixed on the alien ambassador with predatory focus. That would be unfortunate, Jinwoo said quietly. Unfortunate. Vecma threw back his head and roared with laughter. Oh, my dear Commander, you humans are absolutely delicious. No wonder the Zephyrian Empire finds you so entertaining. At the mention of the Zephyrians, several alien species suddenly found urgent business elsewhere. The observation deck began to empty as delegates remembered pressing appointments and important calls. Vecma noticed the exodus and grinned wider, showing rows of needle-sharp teeth. Oh yes. The Zephyrians, such a practical people. They don't waste time with endless negotiations and committee meetings. When they want something, they simply take it. The Zephyrian Empire should remember that the Galactic Council exists to prevent such actions, Jinwoo said, his voice carrying just a hint of steel. Should they? Vecma examined his clawed fingers with theatrical interest. But what can the Council do to stop them? Send a strongly worded letter, form another committee, perhaps hold a vote of no confidence. The alien ambassador leaned in close enough that Jinwoo could see his reflection in those cold, reptilian eyes. Tell me, Commander, what stops the Zephyrians from deciding that human space would make an excellent addition to their empire? What prevents them from testing their new weapons on your peaceful research stations for a moment? Something dangerous flickered behind Jinwoo's calm expression. Something that made Vecma take an involuntary step backward. Nothing, Jinwoo said softly. Nothing at all. But the moment passed, and his diplomatic mask slipped back into place. If you'll excuse me, Ambassador, I have reports to file. As Jinwoo and Sora walked away, Vecna called after them, "Give my regards to your defense course, Commander. All 12 ships of it, 3 days later." The communication rays across human space crackled with an emergency transmission from the Kepler Research Station. Dr. Lee Minji's voice, normally calm and professional, carried pure terror as she spoke into her emergency beacon. "This is Dr. Lee at Kepler Station. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Multiple Zephyrian vessels have dropped out of hyperspace and are firing on civilian targets. Our shields are failing. They're not responding to our surrender signals. They're not even demanding surrender. They're just killing everyone." The transmission cut to static. 6 hours later, the human rescue fleet arrived at coordinates that should have held a thriving research facility instead. They found a debris field stretching across several thousand kilometers. Pieces of hull plating tumbled slowly through the void, still glowing from the heat of their destruction. Captain Yundeho stood on the bridge of the rescue ship Mercy staring at the tactical display that showed the locations of 43 human bodies floating in space. Scientists, engineers, maintenance workers, people who had never held a weapon or threatened anyone. "Sir," his communications officer reported, her voice thick with emotion, "we're detecting 17 additional Zephyrian ships in the outer system. They appear to be monitoring our rescue operations. Are they interfering?" "No, sir. They're just watching." Deho nodded grimly. The Zephyrians wanted to see how humans would react to naked aggression. The entire galaxy was watching, waiting, to see if humanity would finally show its true nature. The answer came 18 hours later, broadcast across every communication frequency in known space. Admiral Choi Han appeared on screens throughout the galaxy, his weathered face carved from granite, his eyes holding depths that hadn't been there the day before. "This is Admiral Choi Han of the Human Defense Corps, speaking to all members of the Galactic Council and to the Zephyrian Empire specifically. You have attacked our civilians. You have murdered our people. You have broken the peace that we have spent 50 years building." He paused, and in that silence, something shifted in the balance of galactic power. "You have made us angry. This ends now." Supreme Commander Vex High stood 8 feet tall on his 6 muscular legs, his exoskeleton gleaming black under the bridge lights of the World Render Asterisk. His compound eyes reflected the star charts floating before him, each one marking another system that would soon bow to Zephyrian might. The bridge round him burst with activity as his officers prepared for what they assumed would be the easiest conquest in their empire's history. "Show me the human transmission again," Vex High commanded, his voice a deep rumble that made the metal deck plates vibrate. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Choi Hyun's weathered face. The human looked tired, almost sad, as he spoke his final words. "You have made us angry. This ends now." The entire bridge erupted in clicking laughter. Zephyrian officers pounded their claws against their workstations in amusement. One young navigator nearly fell from his perch, overcome with mirth. "Angry." Vex High roared, his mandibles spreading wide. "The soft skins are angry. What will they do? Send us a harsh letter. Perhaps they'll organize a protest march." His tactical officer, a scarred veteran named Crixtel, wiped moisture from his compound eyes. "Commander, our intelligence reports indicate the humans have exactly 12 military vessels in their entire fleet. 12. Our advanced scout wing has more ships than their entire navy." "And what magnificent vessels they are," added the weapons officer, pulling up grainy surveillance footage. "Look at these pathetic little ships. No heavy armor. No massive gun batteries. No radiation shielding. They look like civilian transports trying to play soldier. Vex High studied the images with professional interest. The human ships were sleek, almost elegant in their design, where Zephyrian vessels bristled with weapon rays and armor plating thick enough to stop asteroids. These human craft looked almost fragile, beautiful, perhaps, but utterly inadequate for real warfare. How long since their last military engagement? Vex High asked. 237 years, Commander, Crixtal reported, consulting his data pad. Their last recorded conflict was a brief skirmish with pirates near their home system. Duration, 6 hours. Casualties, 0 on both sides. 0 casualties in their last battle. Vex High laughter shook the bridge. They didn't even kill the pirates. These creatures are not warriors. They are prey animals pretending to be predators. Meanwhile, 3 billion kilometers away, Captain Yoon Daeho stood in the cargo bay of the Harmony watching the last transport shuttle dock with his ship. The bay was packed with frightened colonists from the border worlds, families clutching their few possessions as they fled the approaching Zephyrian fleet. That's the last of them from New Seoul, reported Lieutenant Park Min-hyuk, sealing the shuttle bay doors for 1,000 civilians safely aboard. And the other ships? Daeho asked, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. The Resilience has evacuated the mining station at Kepler 442. 700 people. The Redemption cleared the research outpost at Proxima 7. Another 300. Communications officer by Sujin looked up from her console, her young face tense with concentration. All civilian vessels are clear of the combat zone. Captain Daeho nodded slowly. Round him, the evacuees whispered among themselves, their voices filled with fear and confusion. A small child tugged at her mother's sleeve, asking why they had to leave their home. The mother had no answer. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Commander Han Woojin from the bridge communications station, the Zephyrian. "Fleet has entered the system. 60 vessels, all military class. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Demanding. Daeho's eyebrows rose slightly. "Not requesting. No, sir. They're ordering us to prepare for boarding and inspection. They claim this system now belongs to the Zephyrian Empire by right of conquest." Daeho walked slowly to the main viewport, gazing out at the stars that had watched over human civilization for millennia. His reflection stared back at him from the reinforced glass, and for a moment he saw not the face of a starship captain, but the face of his grandfather, who had commanded destroyers during humanity's last great war centuries ago. "Signal the Zephyrian fleet," he said quietly. "Inform them that they are in violation of Galactic Council Accords and human territorial space. They have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully, sir." Han Woojin's voice carried a note of concern. "Their flagship is the World Render *. It mounts enough firepower to level a continent. Our 3 ships against their 60 are sufficient." Daeho finished. "Send the message." The response came back within minutes, transmitted on all frequencies so the entire galaxy could hear Supreme Commander Vex High's reply. "Humans, your pathetic threat amuses us. We are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 14 star systems. In the past decade, your little ships are toys compared to our war machines. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick." Captain Daeho listened to the message without expression. Behind him, the bridge crew waited for orders, their hands steady on their controls despite the overwhelming odds. "Signal the Resilience and Redemption *. Daeho commanded. "Formation Alpha 7. All stations, condition red. Formation Alpha 7. Han Woojin's eyes widened. "Sir, that formation hasn't been used since the Terran Wars," Daeho confirmed. "I know. The 3 human ships moved into position, with fluid precision, their hulls gleaming like silver daggers against the starfield. They formed a perfect triangle, each vessel exactly 1,000 kilometers from the others, their bows pointed toward the approaching Zephyrian armada. Vex-High watched the human formation take shape on his tactical display, and his amusement only grew. Look at them. They're actually going to fight. 3 ships against 60. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare all batteries. Let's give them a demonstration of real firepower. The Zephyrian fleet spread into attack formation, their dark hulls bristling with plasma cannons and missile tubes. Energy readings spiked as weapon systems came online, painting the void with deadly light. All ships, Vex-High broadcast to his fleet, open fire, full brush. Let's vaporize these insects and move on to more important conquests. The attack was devastating. 60 Zephyrian warships unleashed everything they had: plasma bolts that could melt mountains, fusion missiles that burned like miniature suns, particle beams that could slice through moon-sized asteroids. The combined firepower streaked across space toward the 3 human vessels like the wrath of angry gods. The barrage struck the human ship's dead center. And then something happened that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The human ships absorbed it all. Every plasma bolt, every missile, every beam of coherent energy simply vanished into their hulls without leaving so much as a scorch mark. The deadly light show that should have reduced the ships to expanding clouds of vapor instead seemed to make them stronger. What? Vex-High's mandibles clicked in confusion. Scan those ships. How are they still intact? Sir, his sensor officer's voice trembled. I'm reading massive energy spikes from all 3 human vessels. Their power signatures are off our charts. Impossible. No ship can absorb that much firepower. But even as Vex-High spoke, the human ships began to change. Their hulls started to glow with an inner light that grew brighter with each passing second. The elegant curves of their design remained the same, but now they pulsed with contained energy that made the space around them shimmer like heated air. Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Harmony Asterisk, his hands clasped behind his back as status reports flowed in from his crew. Energy absorption complete, reported his engineering officer. All collectors at full capacity. Weapon systems online. Call the tactical officer. Targeting solutions locked. Sir. Communications officer Baisujin looked up from her station. Message from Admiral Choi Hyun. All fleet commanders are cleared for unrestricted engagement. Deho nodded slowly, his weathered face showing no emotion. Signal the Zephyrian fleet. Final warning. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Vex-High's response was predictable. You dare threaten us after we've just demonstrated our superiority. Prepare for another barrage. This time we'll use our planet crackers, sir. Han Wujin said quietly. They're not listening. No. Deho agreed. They're not. He turned to face his crew. These men and women who had sworn an oath to protect humanity and preserve the peace. They looked back at him with steady eyes, ready to follow whatever orders he gave. Then we'll have to show them why our ancestors were right to fear war. Deho said, all ships, weapons free. Let them see what human anger really looks like. The transformation began with a sound that no one in space should have been able to hear, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through the hull of every ship in the system. The Harmony Asterisk started to change, its sleek exterior rippling like liquid metal as hidden mechanisms awakened after centuries of sleep. What in the 7 hells? Supreme Commander Vex-High's compound eyes tracked the impossible sight on his main screen. The human ship was literally reshaping itself, growing larger, deadlier, more complex with each passing second. Panels slid away to reveal weapon rays that gleamed with technologies the Zephyrians couldn't. Identify. The ship's hull extended. Outward, forming wings and fins that pulsed with contained energy. What had looked like a simple transport vessel was revealing itself to be something altogether more terrifying. "Sir," the sensor operator's voice cracked with panic. "Energy readings from the human vessels are climbing beyond our measurement capabilities. Their reactors should have exploded by now." "Impossible," Vexhai snarled. But even as he spoke, the tactical display showed energy signatures that made his flagship look like a child's toy. "Those readings can't be accurate. Recalibrate the sensors. I've recalibrated 3 times, Commander. The humans are generating enough power to supply an entire star system." On the bridge of the Harmony *, Captain Deho watched his ship complete its metamorphosis with the calm expression of a man who had expected nothing less. Round him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements showing no surprise at the incredible transformation taking place beneath their feet. "All systems green across the board," reported Chief Engineer Ko Yun-ho, his withered hands dancing across controls that hadn't been active into centuries. "Graviton manipulation lays online. Quantum field generators at full capacity. Temporal distortion matrices ready for deployment. Weapon status?" Deho asked, his voice steady as stone. "All primary systems armed and ready." "Captain," replied Weapons Officer Lacey-Unma, "shall I target their command vessel?" "Not yet," Deho said, settling into his command chair. "Give them one more chance to withdraw." The transmission went out. On all frequencies, Captain Deho's comm voice cutting through the electromagnetic chaos of the battle zone. "Zephyrian Fleet, this is your final warning. You have 10 seconds to begin immediate withdrawal from this system. After that, we will consider you a clear and present danger to human lives." Vexhai's response was to order a second barrage. This one using his fleet's most powerful weapons. Planet killer missiles streaked through space alongside antimatter torpedoes and plasma beams hot enough to ignite small moons. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. They simply absorbed the incredible display of firepower like cosmic sponges, their hulls glowing brighter with each impact. Energy that should have vaporized entire cities vanished harmlessly into their strange, shifting armor. 10 seconds elapsed. Reported Communications Officer by Sujin. Captain Deho nodded once. "You were warned." The Harmony fired. A single beam of pure gravitational force lanced out from the transformed human vessel, invisible to the naked eye but devastating in its effects. Where it touched the 3 nearest Zephyrian cruisers, space itself seemed to fold inward. The massive warships, each one large enough to carry 10,000 troops, compressed instantly into points of super-dense matter no larger than marbles. The implosion was silent, almost peaceful. One moment, 3 of the Zephyrian Empire's most advanced warships filled the void with their threatening bulk. The next, they were gone, reduced to tiny spheres of collapsed matter that would eventually become miniature black holes. "Impossible," Vexhai roared, his exoskeleton clicking with rage and disbelief. "No weapon can manipulate gravity like that. It's theoretically impossible." "Apparently not," observed his tactical officer, his voice hollow with shock. But the humans weren't finished demonstrating the gap between theory and reality. On the bridge of the Resilience Lieutenant Namjian's fingers flew across her control panels within human speed. Her neural interface, a modification that allowed direct connection between human consciousness and ship systems, processed battle data faster than any organic brain should have been capable of. "I have firing solutions on their entire formation," she reported to Captain Ansiaman. "Recommend immediate implementation of Order 77. Captain An, a veteran of humanity's most classified military programs, felt a chill run down his spine at those words. Order 77, the protocol they had all hoped would never be necessary. Confirmed. He said grimly, "All ships, execute Order 77. May God forgive us." The 3 human vessels began to break apart at first. The Zephyrians thought their weapons had finally achieved some effect. The human ships seemed to be disintegrating, shedding pieces of hull and superstructure into the void. But then those pieces began to move with purpose, reorganizing themselves into smaller, sleeker forms. Within seconds, each human ship had transformed into a swarm of autonomous fighter craft, their hulls gleaming silver against the starfield. Hundreds of them filled the space around the Zephyrian fleet, moving with coordinated precision that no organic pilot could match. "Drone fighters," Vex High gasped. "But the coordination. How are they moving in perfect synchronization?" His answer came in the form of devastation beyond his wildest nightmares. The human drones moved like a school of mechanical fish, flowing round Zephyrian vessels with impossible grace. Their weapons were small compared to the massive guns on traditional warships, but they fired with surgical precision, targeting critical systems with each shot. A squadron of 12 drones converged on the heavy cruiser Deathbringer there, beams slicing through armor that could withstand asteroid impacts. Within seconds, the massive vessel was drifting helplessly, its engines dead, its weapons offline, its crew trapped in a metal coffin. "They're not trying to destroy us," Vex High realized with growing horror. "They're disabling our ships. They want us alive." The realization made his blood run cold. Enemies who killed you quickly were one thing. Enemies who captured you alive, who wanted to study you, interrogate you, learn from you, those were far more terrifying. "All ships, full retreat," he commanded. Emergency jump to hyperspace. But when his navigators tried to engage their faster-than-light drives, they found the systems mysteriously offline. Every ship in the Zephyrian fleet discovered the same thing. Their hyperspace engines had been quietly disabled by some form of technology they couldn't even detect. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "I'm receiving similar reports from all vessels. We're trapped in normal space." The human drones continued their methodical work, disabling ship after ship with clinical efficiency. They moved like predators, but predators with restraint, taking care to avoid hitting life support systems or crew quarters. They wanted the Zephyrians alive, but helpless. In 17 minutes, it was over. The mighty Zephyrian fleet, 60 vessels strong, floated dead in space, not destroyed, disabled. Their crews alive but powerless, their weapons silenced, their engines cold. The human drones reformed into their original 3 ships, which hung in space like mechanical angels of judgment. Supreme Commander Vex High stared at his dead control panels, his proud flagship reduced to a floating tomb. His final transmission, broadcast on emergency frequencies, contained only one word: impossible. But across the galaxy, other species were learning that the impossible had become routine where humans were concerned. In the emergency session of the Galactic Council, the Great Chamber buzzed with panic and disbelief. Representatives from dozens of species clustered together, their voices rising in frightened discussions about what they had witnessed. Ambassador Park Minho stood at the center of it all, his diplomatic uniform still perfectly pressed, his expression calm despite the chaos around him. He looked like a man attending a business meeting, not someone whose species had just rewritten the rules of galactic warfare. "How long?" The question came from the Eltarian delegate, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights into rainbow patterns. "How long have you possessed such weapons?" "Since before we joined the council," Minho replied simply, as if discussing the weather. "Chose." The serpentine ambassador's words came out as a hiss, his scaled form coiling with agitation. "You could have conquered every system in known space." "Yes," Minho agreed without hesitation, we could have. We chose peace instead. The chamber fell silent at those words. Every representative there understood the implications. Humanity hadn't been weak. They hadn't been naive. They had been holding back, choosing restraint when they could have chosen dominance. You have now made that choice difficult. Minho continued, his voice carrying the weight of prophecy. We offered you peace. You have chosen war. The consequences of that choice are now entirely in your hands. Dr. Yang Che-Yung floated in zero gravity within the abandoned Titan base. A suit's headlamp cutting through darkness that had lasted for over 2 centuries. The massive facility, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid the size of Manhattan, had been humanity's most secret military installation during the old days. Now, as her boots touched down on the main deck, ancient systems began to hum with life. Round her, "This is impossible," she whispered into her community, watching as lights flickered on throughout the vast complex. The base has been dead for 200 years. There's no power source, no maintenance crew, nothing. But even as she spoke, the evidence contradicted her words. Assembly lines that stretched for kilometers began to move, their robotic arms reaching for materials that shouldn't exist. Fabrication units the size of skyscrapers started their warm-up cycles, preparing to build weapons of war that the galaxy had never imagined. Dr. Yang, what's your status? The voice of Admiral Cho Yejin crackled through the comm system from Earth's defense headquarters. The base is. It's activating itself, Che-Yung reported, her scientific mind struggling to process what she was seeing. The manufacturing systems are coming online without any external commands. It's like the facility has been waiting for something. Now that something has happened, she moved deeper into the base, her suit's sensors recording everything. In the weapons testing section, massive particle accelerators began their startup. Sequences in the docking bays, construction frameworks started assembling the skeletal structures of warships, unlike anything humanity had built in living memory. Admiral, she continued, her voice growing more tense with each discovery, I'm reading energy signatures that dwarf our current fleet capabilities, whatever they're building in here. It's not just bigger than our ships, it's operating on completely different principles. Back on Earth, Admiral Cho Yejin stood in the war room buried 3 kilometers beneath the Himalayas, surrounded by screens showing similar reports from across human space. Ancient bases on dead worlds were waking up, hidden installations in asteroid belts were powering up their reactors, factory ships disguised as space debris were revealing their true nature. How many total? She asked her intelligence chief, Colonel Park Ji-won. Current count is 237 confirmed facilities, Ji-won replied, his hands shaking slightly as he read from his tablet. But long-range scans are detecting power signatures from locations we didn't even know existed. There could be twice that number, maybe more. Admiral Cho felt a chill run down her spine. She had served in the Human Defense Corps for 40 years, had access to the most classified information in human space, and she was learning that everything she thought she knew was just the tip of an iceberg. Ma'am, interrupted Communications Officer Lim Hai-jun. I'm receiving activation requests from the Prometheus archive. The AI councils are asking for authorization codes. The room fell silent. Every officer present knew about the Prometheus archive, humanity's collection of artificial intelligences created during the old wars. They had been the most advanced military minds ever constructed, capable of processing battle data and formulating strategies faster than any human commander. They had also been locked away for good reason. Denied, Admiral Cho said firmly. Those systems stay offline. Ma'am, with respect, Colonel Park spoke up. The activation requests aren't coming from us. The A's are waking up on their own. They're asking for codes, but they're not waiting for permission. As if to emphasize his point, every screen in The command center flickered and displayed the same message. Prometheus 7 online. Strategic assessment in progress. Threat level, galactic. Authorization for full activation requested. General Kang Minzu entered the command center at that moment, his weathered face showing the strain of command during humanity's darkest hour. He had been in charge of human defense for 15 years, and in all that time, he had never imagined he would see this day. Status report. He ordered, taking in the chaos of activity around him. Sir, our ancient defense systems are activating themselves, Admiral Cho replied. Military installations we thought were dead are coming online. AI. Systems we locked away centuries ago are requesting activation codes. And our deep space monitors are detecting massive construction projects in locations we didn't know we had facilities. General Kang studied the display showing energy signatures throughout human space. Each blip represented military power beyond the imagination of their current enemies, weapons and defenses built during humanity's most violent period and then hidden away when peace seemed possible. Operation Pandora, he said quietly, using a code name that hadn't been spoken into centuries. Signal all fleet commanders, full activation of all dormant military assets. If the galaxy wants to see what human anger looks like, we'll show them. Captain Song Yoron received the transmission while her ship, the Inevitable Asterisk, patrolled the outer edges of human space. She had always known her vessel was different from the older ships in the fleet's leaker. More advanced equipped, with technologies that seemed almost magical compared to standard human vessels. Now she understood why. Mom, her tactical officer, Lieutenant Bai Jonsik, looked up from his console with wide eyes. We're detecting massive energy spikes throughout the sector. Ships are appearing out of nowhere on the main screen. Euron watched as what she had thought was empty space began to reveal its secrets. Stealth systems that had hidden entire fleets for centuries shut down, revealing warships the size of cities drifting in the void. Construction platforms disguised as asteroids activated their engines and began moving toward strategic positions. How many ships? She asked, though part of her didn't want to know the answer. Current count is over 3,000 vessels, and more are still decloaking, Bai reported. Ma'am, some of these ships are larger than space stations. I'm reading weapons signatures that I can't even classify through her ship's sensors. Euron watched as humanity's true military might revealed itself for the first time in 2 centuries. Dreadnoughts that could crack planets emerged from hidden bases. Carrier vessels that housed thousands of drone fighters powered up their launch systems. Mobile battle stations with enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems began there. Slow approach toward the galaxy's trade routes. Signal the fleet, Euron ordered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was witnessing. All vessels are weapons-free. No restrictions. No rules of engagement. The Zephyrians wanted to test human resolve. Her eyes hardened as she watched a massive ship decloak nearby a vessel so large it had its own gravitational field. Let's show them what happens when you make the mistake of waking a sleeping giant in the depths of space. Ancient days that had been dormant for centuries began processing the current galactic situation with minds designed for one purpose: total victory. They analyzed enemy fleets, studied trade routes, calculated supply lines, and formulated strategies that would end the threat to humanity permanently. The Prometheus 7 AI, housed in a computer core the size of a city, sent its first recommendation to human command. Recommend immediate deployment of Alpha-class extermination fleets. Estimated time to complete galactic pacification: 72 hours. Dr. Yong Cheung, still exploring the Titan base, came across a viewing port that showed the construction bays in full operation. Massive shapes were taking form on the assembly line ships, unlike anything in the current human fleet. They were darker, more angular, their hulls bristling with weapons that seemed to bend light round them. "Admiral," she reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "I think I understand now why we sealed these facilities away. We didn't stop fighting wars because we became peaceful. We stopped because we became too good at it." The galaxy was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The crimson skies of Krikstar had watched 1,000 sunrises without fear. The Zephyrian homeworld stretched beneath those alien heavens like a monument to conquest. Its towering spires, reaching toward the stars that had bowed to their empire's might, massive cities sprawled across the planet's surface, each one a testament to the wealth extracted from subjugated worlds. Supreme General Thakma stood on the highest observation platform of the Imperial Command Center, his compound eye scanning the approaching human fleet through reinforced crystal windows. Behind him, his staff officers clicked their mandibles nervously as they watched the tactical displays. 2,000 ships, reported his aide, trying to inject confidence into his voice. The largest defense fleet ever assembled in Zephyrian history. Surely these humans cannot stand against such might. Thakma said nothing. He had been studying the battle recordings from the Outer Rim, watching over and over as 60 of their finest warships had been disabled in 17 minutes. The humans hadn't even bothered to destroy them, they had simply made them irrelevant. "Sir," called his sensor operator, "the human fleet has taken position at the edge of our system. 300 vessels. They're just sitting there." The main display, the human ships hung in space like silver daggers against the starfield. They maintained perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with technologies that defied Zephyrian understanding. No aggressive maneuvers, no weapon-charging signatures, no demands for surrender. They simply waited. Fleet Admiral Soyan stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Retribution her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied the Zephyrian homeworld through the main viewport. The planet looked peaceful from this distance, its red atmosphere swirling with clouds that hid the billions of lives beneath. "Admiral," reported Captain Hong Taekwon, "the Zephyrian defense fleet is moving to intercept. 2,000 ships, full battle formation. They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies." So Yun's expression remained unchanged. "They indeed. And what exactly are they demanding we surrender? Our ships, our crews, and..." Huang paused, checking his communication logs. "Our pathetic human pride, ma'am." A slight smile touched the corner of So Yun's mouth. "How interesting. Signal the fleet. Demonstration Protocol 7. Ma'am." Huang's voice carried a note of concern. "Protocol 7 will be visible from the planet's surface. Billions of civilians will witness it." "Good," So Yun replied. "They should understand what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness." The Retribution turned slowly until its main battery faced Krikstar's smaller moon, a barren chunk of rock that had orbited the Zephyrian homeworld for millions of years. The weapon that emerged from the ship's hull was unlike anything in the galactic database, a device that seemed to bend space around itself, creating distortions that hurt to look at directly. "Gravitational torpedo loaded and ready," reported the weapons officer. "Fire." The weapon discharged with no visible beam. No dramatic light show. No explosion. One moment, the moon was there, a solid mass of rock and metal visible to every telescope in the system. The next moment, it simply wasn't. Not destroyed. Not shattered into fragments. Gone. Erased from existence as if it had never been, leaving only empty space where a celestial body had orbited for eons. The Zephyrian defense fleet stopped its advance on the planet's surface. Billions of Zephyrians looked up at their night sky and saw something impossible. Their smaller moon, a familiar sight that had guided their ancestors for millennia, had vanished, In its place was nothing but stars and the terrible implications of what they had just witnessed. "This is Fleet Admiral and Soyan of the Human Defense Corps," her voice carried across every communication channel in the system, reaching every ship, every station, every civilian receiver. "You attacked our research station. You murdered our scientists. You broke a peace that lasted for decades." Her words fell into the void like stones into still water. "You made us angry." The transmission paused, letting the weight of those words settle across the system. "I am offering you one chance from Messi. Surrender your fleets, open your databases, submit to human authority. Do this now, and your people will live under our protection." The pause stretched longer this time. "Refuse, and we will show you why the galaxy learned to fear the name human." Supreme General Thakma stood frozen on his observation platform, staring at the empty space where their moon had been. His military mind struggled to process what he had witnessed. No known weapon could simply erase matter from existence. The energy requirements alone should have been impossible. "Sir." His aide whispered, "What are your orders?" Thakma's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. Every tactical analysis pointed to the same conclusion: surrender or die. But 1,000 years of conquest, a millennium of viewing other species as inferior prey, made the choice almost impossible to accept. "Signal the fleet," he finally commanded. "Attack formation. We are Zephyrians. We bow to no one." The response was predictable, almost choreographed in its inevitability. 2,000 Zephyrian warships accelerated toward the human fleet, their crews shouting battle cries that had echoed across a dozen conquered worlds. It lasted 40 minutes. The human ships moved like dancers, their hulls flowing through space with impossible grace. They didn't fight like warriors, they fought like surgeons, each shot precise, calculated, designed not to destroy but to disable. Zephyrian vessels found their engines cut away by beams that sliced through matter like light through water. Command centers were isolated by weapons that selectively disabled only military systems while leaving life support intact. When the battle ended, 2,000 Zephyrian ships floated dead in space, their crews alive but powerless, their mighty fleet reduced to metal coffins drifting in the void. But Fleet Admiral So Young wasn't finished demonstrating the price of anger. "Signal Commander Yu Hyunwoo," she ordered. "Begin Phase 2. Commander Yu led the digital warfare team that descended upon Zephyrian computer networks like electronic locusts. Within hours, they had mapped every data connection in the Empire, traced every communication, followed every credit transfer and supply shipment. The evidence was damning. The attack on the human research station hadn't been a spontaneous act of aggression. It had been planned, coordinated, supported by a network of species across the galaxy. The Corvan Syndicate had provided targeting data. The Thesian Republic had supplied intelligence. The Vectoni Empire had sold weapons. Dozens of other species had contributed money, ships, or simply their approval for what they saw as a test of human weakness. They were about to learn that testing sleeping giants was a dangerous game. The retribution was swift and absolute. Corvan trade worlds went dark as human ships appeared in their systems without warning. These Shin defense grids found themselves under human control. Their own weapons turned against them. Vectoni fleets discovered that their AI systems had been compromised for years, their ships now obeying human commands across the galaxy. Species that had underestimated humanity awoke to find human ships in their skies and human officers in their government buildings. The message was clear. The age of human patience was over. In the end, it was the Altarian matriarch who spoke for what remained of the Galactic Council. Her crystalline form refracted the light of human warships visible through the station's viewports as she stood before the emergency assembly. "We yield," she said. her voice carrying the weight of inevitability. We acknowledge human supremacy. We accept whatever terms you offer. Ambassador Park Min-ho looked round the chamber at the assembled representatives, beings who had once mocked humanity's peaceful nature, who had treated them as naive children playing at diplomacy. Our terms are simple, he said, his diplomatic, calm unchanged despite the weapons of war that enforced his words. Universal peace. No more wars. No more conquests. No more attacks on civilians. We will enforce this peace with whatever means necessary. His expression remained pleasant, professional, but his words carried the weight of ships that could erase moons from existence. We tried to show you a better way through example. We offered you peace through choice. Since that failed, we will ensure peace through strength. The galaxy had learned, too late, why humans had warned them never to provoke their anger. It wasn't because humans were weak, it was because human restraint had been the only thing standing between galactic civilization and the void. Peace had been humanity's gift to the galaxy. They had chosen to reject it. Now they would live under it whether they wanted to or not. Asterisk the end asterisk.